Okay, boys and girls. Yesterday we started chapter 9, and we started a section where Rob was going to work with his father. Okay? I want you to turn and talk very quickly, 1 minute, about what you just read yesterday. Go.
What I think they did was
Thank you for turning to me quickly and quietly. I heard that there was a part about a dream that Rob had about his tiger, and now he's about to go to work with his father. So the last paragraph says, and every time Rob's father extended his hand to somebody else, he's thinking about the funeral, right, at this time? Rob saw the ripped place in his suit where it had split open, where he slapped Rob to make him stop crying. And it reminded Rob again, do not cry, do not cry. That's what the son made him think of, the funeral. And he didn't care if he ever saw the sun again. He didn't care if the whole state turned into a swamp. His father stood up and went back into the motel room and got himself a cup of coffee and brought it back outside. The steam rose off it and curled into the air. Now that I'm a working man, Rob said shyly, can I drink some coffee? His father smiled at him. Well, he said, I guess that'd be all right. So I'm thinking to myself, up until this point, Rob's father has been pretty straight-faced, right? Pretty serious, pretty cold, really, to Rob, right? And now it seems like maybe he's opening up a little bit. He's smiling at him, he's giving him some coffee, even though he's just a young kid. So there seems to be a little bit of a change in the relationship, Elijah, that Rob and his father are going through, right? Rob went inside and poured himself a mug of coffee and brought it back outside and sat down next to his father and sipped it slowly. It tasted dark and bitter. He liked it. All right, his father said after about 10 minutes, it's time to get to work. He stood up. It wasn't even 6 o'clock. As they walked together alongside the back of the motel to the maintenance shed, his father started to whistle, Mining for Gold. It was a sad song. He used to sing with Rob's mother. Her high, sweet voice had gone swooping over his father's deep one, like a small bird flying over a solid world. His father must have remembered too, because he stopped halfway through the song and shook his head and cursed softly under his breath. So I think that Rob's mother's death is really affecting both of them in a big way, isn't it? Rob's dad remembers this song and he's singing it and he gets really sad once he remembers that moment with his mom. So Rob's mother's death is really affecting both of them. Rob let his father walk ahead of him. He slowed down and stared into the woods, wanting to see some small part of the tiger, a flick of his tail, or the glow from his eyes, but there was nothing to see except for rain and darkness. Come on, son, his father said, his voice hard, and Rob hurried to catch up. Chapter 10. Rob was sweeping in the laundry room when Willie Mae, the Kentucky Star's housekeeper, came in and threw herself down on one of the metal chairs that were lined up against the cement block wall. You know what? She said to Rob. No, ma'am, said Rob. I'll tell you what, said Willie Mae. She reached up and adjusted the butterfly clip in her thick black hair. I'd rather be sweeping up after some pigs in a barn than cleaning up after people in this place. Pigs at least give you some respect. Rob leaned on his broom and stared at Willie Mae. He liked looking at her. Her face was smooth and dark, like a beautiful piece of wood. And Rob liked to think that if he had been the one who carved Willie Mae, he would have made her just the way she was, with her long nose and high cheekbones and slanted eyes. "What are you staring at?" Willie Mae asked. Her eyes narrowed. "What are you doing out of school?" Rob shrugged. "I don't know," he said. "What do you mean you don't know?" Rob shrugged again. "Don't be moving your shoulders up and down in front of me, acting like some skinny old bird trying to fly away. You want to end up cleaning motel rooms for a living?" Rob shook his head. "That's right. Ain't nobody wants this job. I'm the only fool Bucamp can pay to do it. You gotta stay in school," she said. Else you'll end up like me." She shook her head and reached into the pocket of her dress and pulled out a single cigarette and 2 sticks of 8-ball licorice gum. She put one piece of gum into her mouth, handed the other one to Rob, lit her cigarette, leaned back in the chair, and closed her eyes. "Now," she said, the scent of smoke and licorice slowly filling the laundry room, "go on and tell me why you ain't in school." "On account of my legs being all broke out," said Rob. So we just met a new character in our story, right? We haven't heard from Willie Mae yet. So I want you to take a minute, turn to your partner. What do we know about Willie Mae, our new character, so far?
She sounds a little like she sounds like he doesn't really want to go there.
Let me share that. What do you guys
What's the sad thing? She's really angry about her
3, 2.
Yeah, she was.
Thank you for turning towards me quietly. I heard over here that she doesn't seem to like her job too much, does she? But she also doesn't seem to have an education that she can do much more than cleaning motel rooms, right? So she's saying you need to be working on your education. Why are you not in school? Okay. Willie Mae opened her eyes and looked over the top of her glasses at Rob's legs. She said after a minute. "How long you had that?" "About 6 months." "I can tell you how to cure that," said Willie Mae, pointing with her cigarette at his legs. "I can tell you right now. Don't need to go to no doctor." "Huh?" said Rob. He stopped chewing his gum and held his breath. What if Willie Mae healed him and then he had to go back to school? Why does he not want to be in school? Turn and talk. So I heard that there are some bullies in school that are picking on him. It's not a very good place for him to be. "Sadness," said Willie Mae, closing her eyes and nodding her head. "You keep all that sadness down low in your legs. You not letting it up to your heart where it belongs. You gotta let that sadness rise on up." "Oh," said Rob. He let his breath out. He was relieved. Willie Mae was wrong. She couldn't cure him. "My principal thinks it's contagious," he said. "Man ain't got no sense," Willie Mae said. "He's got a lot of certificates," Rob offered. "They're all framed and hung up on his wall." "I bet he ain't got no certificate for sense, though," said Willie darkly. She rose up out of her chair and stretched. "I gotta go clean some rooms." What do you think about her? This is a time where I want you to stop and jot. So I want you to pick up your Post-its and your pencil. Listen. I'm going to read this part again, and I want you to write what you think about what Willie Mae has to say about his legs. Listen. Are you listening? Tristan? "Sadness," said Willie Mae, closing her eyes and nodding her head. "You keep all that sadness down low in your legs. You not letting it up to your heart where it belongs. You gotta let that sadness rise on up." What do you think about what Willie Mae said about his legs? And that's the reason they're breaking up. Stop and shop. Stop and shop. She rose up out of her chair and stretched. I gotta go clean some rooms, she said. You ain't gonna forget what I told you about them legs, are you? No, ma'am, said Rob. What'd I tell you then, she said, towering over him. Willie Mae was tall, the tallest person Rob had ever seen. To let the sadness rise, Rob said. He repeated the words as if they were part of a poem. He gave them a certain rhythm, the same way Willie Mae had when she said them. That's right, said Willie Mae. You gotta let the sadness rise on up. She left the room in a swirl of licorice and smoke. After she was gone, Rob wished that he had told her about the tiger. He felt a sudden, desperate need to tell somebody. Somebody who wouldn't doubt him. Somebody who was capable of believing in tigers. So do you think that Rob's going to tell someone about the tigers, and who is that person? Do you think he's going to tell someone about the tiger, and who? Turn and talk.
I think he's going to tell somebody. Because it has a lot of creepy out. Maybe they're coming friends, and like they have a lot of comments, and he has to tell somebody. Remember, maybe
Okay,
doesn't tell
5,
somebody.
4, 3, 2, 1. I heard a lot of Sistine's name. I heard maybe the dad's name, his dad's name. So we will find out tomorrow. I need you to put your name on your sticky note. And as I call your table, I want you to bring me your sticky note and go ahead to your table and sit down. Charlotte.